Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Tim here with the TMA Connection. It's a local podcast that focuses on people that are making a difference in the lives of others. And today we got another difference maker here today. We have Ken Barnes with Symmetry Financial Group. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tim. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ken, we go back a while because your kids went to Bel Air High School when I was a teacher, and always had a good appreciation for the conversations that we had, and you reached out about being on the show, and there's a lot that I think the people are going to be able to learn today, because there's certainly a lot of things that I need to learn today about insurance. Wow, don't go off the podcast just yet now. Come on.
Don't fall asleep talking about insurance.
We're gonna make it fun. We're gonna make it exciting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Ken, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So before we get into talking a little bit about insurance, give everybody just a little bit of a background about who you are, where you come from, and
Okay, good. Yeah. Been in Maryland
then we'll get into the insurance stuff.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, been in Maryland my whole life. Grew up in Baltimore County.
Okay.
And moved to Harford County.
What part of Baltimore County?
Parkville area.
Really?
Went to Lockgraven High School.
Let's go. I was Parkville Knight.
There you go. I know a lot of Parkville folks.
There you go. Yeah.
My parents went there back in the day. So
okay.
I'm a local guy. Moved to Harford County about 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. Raised my kids here, and absolutely love Harford County. But I work all over Maryland. In fact, I'm licensed in most states.
Okay.
It's a different world now since COVID with that. But I used to coach my kids. I coached over 43 teams here in Harford County, boys and girls, 3 sports each. You and I used to talk about coaching a little bit, and I appreciated what you did when you coached my daughter in volleyball in high school, and I saw that, and I missed that, but that was my way of giving back and helping out. And I was on the board of directors at the Rec Council at the time for a while. I'm on the board of directors of a charity I helped found 15 years ago now. So I'm active, and I enjoy what I do, and I just love helping people. And that kind of goes into what I do for a living.
Yeah. Certainly, we were talking about the Brandon Tolson Foundation before we went on the mics here, and then you have involvement in that. Is that the foundation that you were referencing?
No, it's another foundation, the Wayne Stinchcomb Big Orange Melanoma Foundation.
Okay.
15 years ago, a friend of mine died of melanoma.
Uh-huh.
Left a wife and 2 kids, and a group of friends, we sat down and said, what can we do about this? So we started this foundation, 501c3 charity, nonprofit. We're all volunteer, and 100% of the money goes to research for melanoma. We asked his wife, Lisa, at the time, his widow, and said, what do you want us to do? And she goes, I don't want another family to suffer like my family did. Yeah. So we created this, and we do golf tournament, bull roast. We're doing a Super Bowl pool. We do lottery, ticket. We do a lot of different things to help raise money for research.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Just something so tragic can turn into something so great.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time. Which,
very cool.
Again, parallels with what I do for a living.
Yeah. So let's talk about insurance. What different types of insurances do you work with people?
I really work with everything, pretty much. My focus is life-related products, life insurance-related products. Okay. Whether we call it life insurance, mortgage protection, but a lot of misconception is just people think of death insurance, but there's a lot of living benefits that go into insurance also. Okay. We can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Okay. A question that just popped into my mind. There's 2 different types of life insurances, if I'm not mistaken. There's whole life and
term. So there's term is temporary. Okay. And there's permanent products. Okay. Whole life, universal life, indexed universal life. So there's different philosophies on what people should get. Okay. The way I approach it with my clients is my job is to get my clients approved for something within their budget. Yeah. Because there's medical underwriting on the life insurance side. Okay. So you have to get qualified, and you got to be able to afford it. Mm-hmm. And if we can't do those 2 things, then we really don't provide that service that they want. Right. So my job is to get, and I say this in every one of my appointments, my job today is to get you approved for something within your budget. So let's be very thorough. Let's be clear on what we're doing here. And first, I need to know, what is your why? Tim, what is your why?
Oh, you're throwing it on me right now, huh?
It's a big open-ended question.
It is a big, and I've certainly heard this question a lot, and I feel like a lot of times it revolves around family and making an impact For me, no matter what I have ever wanted to do in life, I wanted to make a difference in the lives of others. But certainly, everything that I do for Amy and my daughters.
Yep. Yeah. And people say, what is your why? And my why 28 years ago when I got into the business with Liberty Mutual was my wife and 2 kids at the time. And that was my why, providing for my family.
Yep.
And then learning the business and, wow, I can really help some people here, whether it be their auto, their homeowners. And then I became a financial advisor at a local bank at the time here that's been bought out. And I've really been on that side of just helping and serving people, and I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that. There's not, and we've said this time and time in different episodes with different guests. But when you put the people first in the business, and you're not worried about the almighty dollar, that's where great things can take place.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah. So
we joke that people, you can have commission breath. You don't want to have commission breath even on the phone.
Oh my gosh,
people can hear that, but it is how we make a living.
Yeah.
But if you're doing the right thing for people, right?
Yep.
It's all going to come back to you.
Absolutely. So, we started to talk about some misconceptions that people have about insurance. What do you hear? What do you hear a lot about when you're talking to people on the phone?
Whether they need it or not, because it's all about the need and their why. Especially life insurance is a very emotional sale.
Yeah.
Tim, if something were to happen to you 2 months ago, where would your family be right now? That's the emotion, right? So
yeah.
I could see the smoke coming out of your ears through the headset. Like, you're right, Ken. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And it's also about leaving a legacy. And with the industry has really evolved. COVID, as bad as COVID was, it helped the industry in a lot of different ways. And our business used to be, you either came to my office or I went to your house. And that was it. And we couldn't do that during COVID.
Yeah.
So the life insurance companies that weren't in, or any insurance company for that matter, really went to what we call e-applications.
Okay.
We can do things over the phone. We can do things via computer. Now you can sign an application via text. These things weren't there before COVID.
Yeah.
So it's about the convenience factor for our clients, but it's also making sure we're doing the right thing by them. Everybody wants to have $1 million insurance policy for their family. Do you need it? Can you afford it? And can I get you approved for it?
Right. Yeah. I what? And I'm even asking myself the same question. But what are the hesitations that why don't people seek this stuff out? We were talking about this before. Question. It's like, for me, I could just say, life gets busy. But I know I need to do these things. I need to set, a will up in place. What do you call them? Medical directives and insurance to make sure that, God forbid, if something does happen. I mean, if something happened to me 2 months ago, my family would be under a hell of a lot of stress right now.
There you go.
There you go. Hearing myself say that, it's like a no-brainer. I need to get on this. But why do people hesitate to do that? Because
when this podcast's over and you go home, you'll either forget about it or it gets pushed down in your priorities. And I wish I had the list in front of me. Out of college, I was a collector, a credit card collector over the phone for a big credit card company back in the day. And I remember seeing an old publication of people's priorities in their finances.
Okay.
Right? You got to keep a roof over your head.
Yep.
You got to feed your family. They got to have clothes, education. And I don't have the list, but paying your credit card and paying your insurance is down on the list because it's things you can cut out or put off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, in our business, we call adverse selection. My phone rings daily for people that have adverse selection, either in their health or their life situation. So what that means is, God forbid you have a health event. Okay? And let me give you an example. I watched my father have a heart attack at age 41 in the Perry Hall High School gym, refereeing the basketball game after mine. He was active like I was in coaching and running leagues. He lived till he was 64. But I was in 8th grade. It scared the you-know-what out of us.
Sure.
And he went out on disability for 3 months. Disability is a living benefit, just like critical illness is, long-term care policies are. You get paid while you're alive. If he would have passed away, that's the death benefit. Well, they didn't have the critical illness around back then. And nobody gets 100% of their pay returned to them if you go on disability. Nobody would probably work, right? It's always a portion of your pay. And for you and I being self-employed, we've got to buy our own disability policies. You know, the crazy thing they taught me, it's not really crazy, it's corny.
Okay.
You're the incredible money-making machine, Tim.
God, I wish.
If that machine breaks while it's being repaired, while it's in the shop, the hospital, that is disability insurance. You're alive. If that machine goes away forever and never makes another dollar for your family, that's your death, your life insurance.
Yeah.
So getting back to your original point of permanent versus temporary protection, permanent policies never go away. Universal life, index universal life, the old whole life that our grandparents had.
Okay.
I have a whole life policy on my children that I bought when they were born. I'm in the business. Back then it was what's called a 20-pay whole life. You could pay 20 years, which is still around, and you're done. And it does nothing but grow over the years. There's 10-pay now. There's even single-pay policies where you pay once. Those policies, again, are permanent. So no matter what happens to you, my father having a heart attack couldn't get insurance after that. Okay? A different world back then in 1980.
Yeah.
Okay? But now we can insure most people from age 15 days old to age 85 to 89 here in Maryland. And insurance is regulated by the states, no matter what the product is. Your auto, your homeowners, okay? Thank God the federal government has stayed out of that. Unlike financial advisory, there's different organizations that regulate that. We're getting a little deep here.
Yeah, man.
And I'm really going off on a tangent on your question.
That's okay. I'm learning right now.
Yeah. So the point is, you've got to decide what's right for you and your family.
Yeah.
And you got to sit down and break it down. And when you put it into numbers, you look at it and it's shocking. And we don't get any healthier as we get older.
Right.
And rates only go up the older you get before you lock in. So if you get a permanent protection, universal life, index universal life, whole life, the rate is the rate for the rest of your life, no matter what happens to you health-wise. Nobody can ever take it away. And those policies also build what's called cash value. Cash value is like a little side fund, a side bucket.
Okay.
It's essentially the insurance company paying you a dividend for you giving them a monthly fee, right? An automatic draft.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, what can you do with that? You can walk away, take the money and run, cash it out, take whatever that cash value is at that time. It takes years to build up to any significance, and walk away with it if you want. Okay? You're surrendering your policy, then you have no more life insurance.
Okay.
Or you can borrow against it, which a lot of people do. That's how a lot of people save for college for their kids. They'll buy a permanent policy, one of the ones I mentioned, put a lot of money into it over the years. Want to pay for your kids' college, want to buy them a car. You want to put a down payment on a house for them. You're borrowing against your cash value through the life insurance company. It's tax-free. Most life insurance, and I'm not a tax advisor, I have to say that, I'm not a tax attorney, but most life insurance products, they're set up properly, are tax-free to the beneficiary. No federal, no state, no local tax. Another reason to get it for your family.
Right.
In our business, I don't know if it applies to real estate as much, we always say, facts tell and stories sell. I can sit here like I'm doing right now and throw up facts all over you.
Yeah.
But I can also sit here and tell you stories like my father.
Right.
That gets to a little bit of the emotion we talked about. This is an emotional sale, but it's real. There's probably not one. We always say, everybody in the country can say, I know somebody who's had cancer or died of cancer, right?
Yep.
You can probably also say, especially the older we get, I know somebody that passed away and their family was in a financial difficulty after that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm in real estate. I see it a lot. A family member has, an unexpected death, and I see the pieces that have to be picked up after they pass away by setting up estates and dealing with who gets what and stuff like that. And I see it. Like I see the pain. I see the discomfort that people are going through. I'm empathetic to it, but to be completely honest, I'm not doing anything for myself yet.
That's right.
At some point, I gotta get on the ball.
It's the oxygen mask, right, from the airplane. You got to take care of yourself first, and then help others.
That's right. Yeah, we just had that analogy in the last interview that I did. Really? we did.
That's great.
You got to put the oxygen mask on for yourself first before you can help other people. So
exactly.
Yeah. Wow. People often maybe hesitate to get involved in something because number one, they don't know, or number two, they feel like it's a huge. They think too big, and you just need to think about the first step. And like you said, since COVID, the accessibility and the ability to sign yourself up for it has become significantly easier than it was prior to COVID. What do people need to consider? What do people need to think about when they want to get themselves into an insurance policy?
Is it right for them?
Yeah.
In the state of Maryland here, we have to have auto insurance, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're selling a house, the mortgage company requires homeowners insurance.
Homeowners insurance, yeah.
And most renters, if they're renting a property, the landlord requires renter's insurance.
Yeah.
That's what we call property and casualty, or homeowners and auto insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay? We have to have that. There's usually no requirement for life insurance, right?
Yeah.
So again, there has to be a need. Mm-hmm. The hardest people to sell to are young single males.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is their need? If they're single, they don't have a girlfriend, a wife, if they don't have a child, they're the toughest ones for me to present to.
Yeah.
Unless somebody who's forward thinking saying, we can get this now for dirt. Inexpensive. I don't want to say cheap because cheap's not the right word for it. A very inexpensive product that's permanent forever versus a 50-year-old who's going to pay more than a 20-year-old.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And it's something you have forever, builds the cash value. And the also part is there's living benefits now that are built into a lot of these policies that weren't there. I see a look on your face like, what the heck do you mean by living benefit, right? Most of the A-rated companies in the country now are offering living benefits. Chronic illness, critical illness, and terminal illness built into the insurance policies, life insurance, on the term or the permanent policies, okay? Mostly the universal life policies. So, and it takes a while to build up. We talked about a cash value in a policy. Mm-hmm. Kind of the dividend, like in the early 80s, remember banks were paying 3%, 4%, 5% interest on your checking or savings account. Interest rates were high then.
Right.
They were a lot different. Now interest rates are lower environment. But essentially, again, the bank or the insurance company giving you money, giving you a dividend for using your money.
Right.
Because these insurance companies take a portion of what you send them every month and they invest it.
Okay.
Right? We look at the Los Angeles wildfires, right? These companies are going to take a bath, or hurricanes in Florida. Mm-hmm. These insurance companies make money by taking a portion and investing it. But they also, by law, have to set aside money. On the living benefits, they're taking your money and they're investing it, and they're saying, over time, you can get more and more benefit, but you can get, if you have a chronic illness. My father also had Parkinson's, okay, before he passed. Parkinson's is chronic. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Right? If he ever would have needed money out of his life insurance policy, if they had it back around back then, which they didn't, you can take money out of your life insurance policy while you're living, thus a living benefit, okay, if he needed to. My mother would not have been in a position to take care of him. He was 6'4", 250, okay? And he broke his hip before he died. She couldn't move him, right, to help him out. The point is you can use these living benefits if you need help. Chronic illnesses.
Okay.
A critical illness, heart attack, cancer, stroke, bypass surgery. There's a whole horrible list of things that can happen to you when you live. My father having the heart attack, if they had that coverage around back then, would have cut him a check for having a heart attack. As an example.
Yeah.
Living benefit, you can get that out of your life insurance policy now with the right company, if you need to. If you don't need to, the death benefit stays intact for your beneficiary. Say, for instance, Tim, you get a $100,000 insurance policy, and it has these living benefits built in, and you have any one of these events I just mentioned. The other one is terminal illness, by the way. If you're diagnosed as being terminally ill, most companies are between 1 to 2 years. A doctor certifies you're terminal, and you need to get money out while you're alive. You have a $100,000 policy. Say you want to take $10,000 out to take your family on a cruise. You're alive. You want to spend it while you're alive.
Yep.
You can do that, no questions asked, on the terminal benefit. And then you pass away, your family gets the remainder. In this example, $90,000 to them.
And that's and like you said before, that's tax free.
Yeah, tax free. And these they're called riders. Living benefit riders are built in. Some riders you pay for, some are built in for free. But that's very popular now, and it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah. When you're looking at when people are looking at insurance, what are things that people don't necessarily think about that you advised that this could be a good idea?
Believe it or not, sometimes I'll say, you know what, this isn't right for you, or you don't need this.
See that, and I think that's so important. I think you need somebody that's going to be honest and says, you don't need this. You should be focusing on that, because let's face it. I don't know if you're a car guy, but you go to you go to a car dealership, and you almost, because you're not educated in it, or you go to the mechanic and because you're not educated in it, you feel like, am I being bamboozled? You know, right. Like how can people feel comfortable knowing? And of course, you're a good guy. You're one of the good ones, but like that what the coverage that they're getting is what they should be getting, versus not just adding on something that
you know, old school, we learned about what's called needs analysis. Mm-hmm. Just like you pre-qualifying a buyer, mm-hmm. right? It's the same kind of thing. We're going through, okay, well, let's go over your debits and your credits, mm-hmm. right? What is your monthly expenses? What's your income? What's your net that you have left over at the end of the month? Yeah. And can you afford to peel off a portion of that? Because we don't want to peel off all of it, right? Mm-hmm. A portion of that to provide for your family. Yeah. Or provide for yourself with a living benefit. Mm-hmm. So we go through this needs analysis and we talk it through. And I always, at the end, when I'm done a presentation or showing people, and they say, yeah, you know, Ken, I think I want to go with option B here. I really like that. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the car dealership, we all want to get a Cadillac, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, sometimes you can only afford the Chevy. Yeah. Things happen. Yeah. I always tell my clients, listen, when we're done here today, I want to make sure you put your head on the pillow and say, I'm really glad Ken came by and did this, as opposed to a month, 6 months from now, you need 4 new tires in the car, or the air conditioning unit goes up in your house. And then you start prioritizing, what can I knock out here? Right. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. But we also know that, God forbid, you could pass away in your sleep tonight.
Could very well, yeah.
Right? And that's why I'm here. So let's look at your budget again. Let's look at your net disposable income every month. And let's come up with a number that we both agree upon. Because you know what, Tim? I'm going to be your agent for life. Okay? And we're going to meet every year or sooner if you want. And we're going to talk, and you say, everything's fine, Ken, great. Or we need to look at something different, Ken, here, because my life events have changed. Okay. We talked about earlier, I mentioned adverse selection. Adverse selection, by definition, is, Tim, you have a health event, and you might not be able to get insurance. Or if you can get it, it's through the roof. Mm-hmm. Just like on homeowners insurance. You file too many claims, the insurance companies don't want you anymore, right? Yeah. Right? And it's the same kind of thing here. You only get one chance to file a claim with life insurance, right? And, you know, ironically, to us meeting here today, I got a phone call from a client yesterday. In my 10 years of being an independent agent, meaning I don't work for an insurance company, I'm a broker. I represent over 40 different companies mm-hmm. for many different products. He called me when I wrote him and his wife. They lived in Dundalk in 2017. And it was a Virginia number. I didn't have it in my phone. Tried to put my clients in there. And I answered, and he immediately started getting choked up. His wife passed away 3 days ago in her sleep right next to him. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to make sure everything was still good with the policy and all that. I looked it right up. She still had the policy. She was on disability when we wrote the policy. Mm-hmm. So you're a little bit more limited on what I could do for her. She was in the 50s at the time, and she died at 65. And I've had 23 clients die in 10 years. Wow. And that's not counting the living benefits. People that I mentioned the living benefits a minute ago. Yeah. People that took out living benefits that they needed while they were alive. I'm just talking death benefits alone. Yeah. And I sat at a table with people across from me, knowing that they were going to pass away soon by what they had going on health-wise, mm-hmm. and looking at them. Yep. And I was able to help them out and help out their family. And it's an amazing feeling, because I'm sure you've lost someone close to you. Mm-hmm. My mother just passed away in September this past year. And it was a long battle. My point is, I'm the only bright spot in their life when something like this happens. And I get a phone call, and we walk them through the process. And even more satisfying if I'm there actually delivering the check. Mm-hmm. And you know, the woman who passed away, who I just mentioned, he told me how much the funeral expenses would be. And he was really asking me more questions along the financial advisory side of, you know, I'd love to pay off the house. What can we do here? I said, well, let's just get you the money. Let's get her funeral paid for, and then let's sit down when the dust settles.
How much does a funeral cost these days?
It's a great question, and it's by state. Usually, cost of living, right?
Yeah.
What costs?
Cost of living, cost of dying. I mean,
that's a.
You're gonna write that one. The cost of dying has gone up too.
It is, and I've heard that before, and we've used that before, but it's true. And I've been to the funeral home way too much the past 12 months. Family, friends, co-workers. One of my agents died last year in Northern Virginia, and the average cost, it all depends on what, like cremation versus burial versus.
Yeah.
Are you going to get the Cadillac service, or are you going to go for? My father was cremated, and we're talking 21 years ago, almost 22, and he was an engineer. He was very practical, very intelligent. And my mother and I, the next day, were at the funeral home and cremated. It was done. We knew what we wanted, knew what he wanted. But we want him cremated in a casket, in a pine box, or in a cardboard box. My mother and I look at each other. He's a very practical engineer, and why would you spend all that money on a casket? It's going to get burned up, right? And we both said cardboard box. Yeah. But that's what he wanted. Some other people, I've had people say, I don't want to think about it, Ken. I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
Again, it's an emotional sale.
Yeah.
I had a woman once wouldn't tell me her weight. You can't get a life insurance policy without knowing somebody's height and weight, or social security number, or address, or phone number.
Right.
And it's all secured. But I'm like, okay, tell you what. I'm not here to judge. I'm no Arnold Schwarzenegger myself here. So why don't you just write it down for me, and I'll type it in, and we'll forget it and move on.
Right.
She thought about it and went, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Then did you go, oh my gosh, you weigh that much?
Right. No, this is still when it was in person. I'd have been thrown out of our house. Yeah. So,
I'm just kidding.
No. So the cost it's like the cost of long-term care.
Yeah.
Right? People say, what is the cost of long-term care? My mother had to go into hospice before she passed away. I can't believe how much that cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the greater cost is not having it to your family, right? One of those philosophical, you're not answering my question, Ken. I don't know how much it's going to cost because I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
You want to be cremated? You want to have a service? You got people that say, I don't want anything.
Yeah.
Move on. Okay.
Right.
Here's an extra $1,000. Throw me a party.
Right.
Okay.
That's how I want to go out.
Me and you
just
both.
have a party.
Hey, man.
Remember me for the good times.
Death and taxes, right? The only two things that are inevitable.
See if you can get anything off my body, that I can donate to somebody else, make a difference. And
well, facts tell, stories sell, right? We're a little lighthearted on this, but
sure.
I had my 40th high school reunion this summer, and guy there that I don't see. We were friends on Facebook and all that, and ran with different crowds and known him since, again, elementary school, and saw him. He eventually married a woman we grew up with too, went to high school with. They had both had separate lives, separate spouses. And I saw she posted on Facebook, he passed away this fall. And, I went to the funeral home and talking to her, and she's like, yeah, he had his body donated to science. Well, we learned that his eyes went to this person, and this went to that person. And she goes, a big one was skin grafts. Things you don't think of.
Sure.
I'm an organ donor on my card. But
yep.
Again, to your point of let's have a party and let's leave a legacy.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be, Tim?
Yeah.
Do you want your legacy to be that I left my family destitute, or my kids had to go out and get a job after school and then not be able to afford to go to college?
Yeah. Yeah. And we're more willing to do something for other people more than we do for ourselves, which is, and I feel like too, like we feel like memento mori means to remember that you're going to die, to live a better life and appreciate the things you have now. That, sometimes people just don't even want to talk about death. It's too much for them to think about, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Are you going to be prepared for it when it does happen? Whether that be tonight, tomorrow, or 50 years down the road.
Everybody has some need.
Yeah.
Whether it be if you're lucky enough to become old and you leave an estate, or you're lucky enough to become old, and in life insurance offset your estate taxes. Because God knows the government's changing the rules every year on that. And it's a moving target. We just don't know what that's going to be, whatever the limits are. It's nice to be able to have, people that have farms, family farms, be able to pass it down generation.
Right.
It used to be generations of family lived in one house, and they just passed that down along the lines. And times have changed on that. But do you want to offset, like you said, funeral costs, your kids' college, paying off all your debt before you pass, so your family doesn't have to worry about that, whether it be your mortgage, your car, student loans, anything like that.
Right.
And talking about living benefits, the concept's been around a long time. It's called infinite banking.
Okay.
To where you can use a permanent life insurance policy. You mentioned whole life earlier. You can even do it with an index universal life, and using the cash value to help pay off your debts while you're alive. I can see your wheels turning.
Yeah.
And we had a tagline, and it's underwritten. It's health underwritten. You have to qualify for it. But you can also get family members to qualify for it also for you too. For this, it's your own bank. Be your own bank.
Right.
I talked about earlier borrowing your cash value. You're borrowing your own money through the life insurance company. I never thought about it that way, as it being an investment,
more of something after you're gone.
That's exactly right. You can use your life insurance policy to work for you. It's one of the ways the rich stay rich, and money gets passed down generation to generation. It's one of the ways. Okay, but it's done in a tax-free way. Again, I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not an attorney.
Yep.
But all the products we talk about, and insurance being regulated by the states, all the products are approved in the state. Okay, even the brochures, the applications, the rates, right? Like gas and electric, it has to be approved to do a rate hike, right? Same thing. All insurance rates are approved by the Maryland Insurance Commissioner. Everything that you see, the underwriting, okay, that the questions on the application. And can you imagine that New York and California have their own set of rules regarding that? It's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but every state does it a little bit differently. Some have some more extreme outliers in that. And most of it really for consumer protection. Just like you and I have to be licensed in what we do in our profession.
Yep.
I've taken a lot of tests over the years and studied a lot, and it's regulated. But my point is, you can use your life insurance to work for you while you're alive.
Wow. You've been doing this for 28 years now?
Yeah. My daughter, who you know, she was 6 months old, 7 months when I officially left the banking industry, credit cards. I was on the fast track.
Wait, you're saying that Savannah's 28 now?
She just turned 29.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And Logan, how old is he?
Soon to be 26. Yeah.
Jeez. Getting old.
Amen, brother.
Amen.
But, I'd leave in the morning. Everybody was asleep. When Savannah was a baby.
Yeah.
I'd come home at night. Everybody was asleep. I worked half days every Saturday, plus an hour commute each way. And I watched my father have that heart attack. He smoked. He drank 2 pots of coffee a day. And he had a very stressful job. And it got to him. And I saw even the stress of him coaching my sister and I growing up, meaning trying to get out of work to go do it.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I really want to be there for my kids. I really wanted to coach them. I want to be involved in their lives.
Yeah.
And I made the decision to leave the golden handcuffs in corporate America and get into the insurance business. And the more I learned, the more I evolved, becoming a financial advisor, a wholesaler, and now being self-employed to where I own my book of business. My clients are my clients. I'm there to help them forever.
Yeah.
And my job is to get them approved for something within their budget with whatever company I can get them approved in.
And you said you work with 40-some companies. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just a wealth of greatness for your customers that
big time.
You're just not narrowed down to one or two options. There's what's the right situation, what fits best for them. Exactly. And you can go out there and find that based on whatever company provides that. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And giving advice and helping, and you and I were talking about earlier before we got started here, having a will, which is really a living benefit for your family.
Yeah.
And having a health directive, which my mother had before she passed, and my sister and I knew that. But believe it or not, and it's not a lot of them, but a couple insurance companies out there, if you have a policy with them, and they call them member benefits, you can actually get a will drawn up for free as part of your member benefits. It's basic, but it's there.
Yeah.
I refer my clients to local attorneys here to get that done if they like also.
Yeah.
Then we also have some other services that I can refer people to on that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Definitely something that I need to get on, and maybe it's a sign that you're here on the show today to get me going in the right direction.
Good things happen to good people. And you know,
absolutely.
It's you know, there's GoFundMe now, which some people lean on.
Yeah.
I've actually had people tell me, I don't care what happens, I'm going to be gone. Well, there's zero emotion there. I talked about this being an emotional sale.
Right.
Okay. Well, right away then, I'm going to pivot to a living benefit.
Yeah.
Great. What can I do for you while you're alive then?
Right.
Let me explain some things that you might be eligible for.
Yeah.
But how do you talk to somebody who's irrational and says, I don't care what happens, I'm going to be gone?
Right.
And then I'll say to people sometimes, or they might have no heirs. Unfortunately, you feel for people that way in an emotional standpoint. They have no heirs. And say, well, why you have a mortgage then? Why don't you sell the house, take the equity, rent, right? Because what happens is if nobody is there to get the equity in your home, where do you think it's going to go to? Back to the mortgage company.
Yep.
Right? So why don't you take that money, rent, and we can put it in a living benefit for you? Just a suggestion. Right?
Yeah.
And that might not appeal to them. But I've had to walk away from people who said, I don't care what happens to me when I'm gone. Offer some things. God bless.
Yeah.
Things change. Let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah. And again, being in the business that I'm in with real estate, witnessing people going through that struggle of an untimely death is just, it breaks your heart, and then you start thinking, it's like when you go to a funeral, you start reflecting on your own life, and are you maximizing the relationships that you have right now, and you leave that funeral maybe trying to focus on being just a little bit better, but then you kind of fall back into life and patterns.
It's like leaving church, right? There's a fine line between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Jimmy Buffett. But it's where your head is at.
Right.
And you're right. And leaving that funeral home, you're thinking, what's going to happen to me? And do I want my family to have to go to GoFundMe? Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, for some people, they have to do it, and to no judgment to them, but it's but yeah, you certainly want to try to leave your family in a better position when you leave this earth. So.
And we mentioned the charities earlier that I'm involved in and that I support. And, you can put a charity or any nonprofit, church, synagogue, whatever you're involved in, you can name them as a beneficiary too. So when I have some people, that don't have any heirs, I come up with that suggestion.
Yeah.
Say, hey, great, we can do a permanent policy here that has the cash value and living benefits if you need it.
Yep.
And if you never need it, what's your favorite charity? And why is that important to you?
Yeah.
And you can leave it. Again, I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a tax attorney. Can't give that advice.
Yeah.
But potentially, depending on how the IRS changes their rules, if you are making your monthly payments on your insurance policy and annual, however you want to set it up, and it's a 501c3 registered charity with the IRS, those payments can be tax deductible. Talk to your tax person on that.
Yes.
But have a tax deduction and leave something tax-free to your favorite charity.
Yeah.
I always
what a great legacy to leave, Yeah. So if there was just one piece of advice that you would give myself or even young Drew over there with all this, what would be that one takeaway that you would impress upon us to do?
Don't wait. You're always thinking there's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Procrastinators Club, right? We put it off for legitimate or really wrong reasons. Whatever you need to do, don't wait. Whoever's hearing this podcast, go to your auto and homeowners agent and review your policy. Pretty much everybody's auto and homeowners insurance has been going up the past year or two. and for different reasons. But talk to your agent about that and see, do you have the right coverage? Okay. And I'm just giving an example here with auto insurance. If you have AAA, you might not need that towing package that you're paying for in your auto policy.
Right.
So don't wait. Call your agent and find out what's going on. If you don't have an agent, ask me, ask you. We all have a network of people that we trust and work with.
Right.
But the biggest advice I can do is don't wait, because anything can happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah.
Another example of that. I have different lead resources, and they're all warm leads of people that they've given us a lot of their information.
They've raised their hand.
They've raised their hand, internet, mail, phone, whatever it is, and said, please call me. And I have their information, I call. And this, if you're in the business long enough, this happens to everybody. I get a lead. Sometimes now they're instant. Sometimes they might take a day, depending. And I pick up the phone and call the lead. And the first time it happened to me, it's a woman in Delaware. And I called 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Saturday's a great time for us to call people. You get a hold of them. They're off work.
Yeah.
Majority, not everybody. And she was crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? I just got home from the hospital. My husband died last night. Well, this was 10 years ago when they would fill out in the mail and send it back. He had filled it out in his handwriting and mailed it back. And that week or whatever it took to get into my hands and call them back then via third-class snail mail, he died. And he died that hours before I called her.
Wow.
So I let the dust settle, and I went and met with her a couple weeks later. And I showed her. She's like, oh, my God, that's his handwriting. It happens. You can't, nobody's Kreskin. You can't predict the future. Not even he could.
Yeah.
So you got to be there for you. There's no fun in what I do, right? You got to have some humor in what I do.
You do.
It's fun.
But you can also tell that you do have compassion and empathy for what you do. Like, in just talking about one of your case studies or one of the people that you've worked with, you could tell that there was a little bit of an emotion there that was kind of welling up inside of you. The fact that's genuine, like that's authentic, and that's why people need to connect with someone like yourself or even you, to genuinely work with somebody that's going to care, that's genuinely going to look out for your best interest. That's
you and I are professionals, and we're licensed.
Yep.
And we know the more people we help, you give a lot of good's going to come back to you.
Yep.
And the way it comes back to me is obviously it's how I make a living. It's how you make a living. But also we get to help people.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I have agents all over the country that I've hired, trained, and I mentor on a daily basis. That I help them all the time. So exponentially, I get to help more people by hiring more people.
Right.
And spreading the good word in what we do.
Yeah.
And what I do and what you do isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And I'm never going to be pushy. I'm never going to be salesy. I'm just going to tell you like it is.
Yeah.
Either you sign on the dotted line or you don't.
And that's okay.
Exactly right.
That's okay. It's got to be a good fit for both of us.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Whether it be in insurance or in your own personal life, what are you looking forward to in the coming year?
Potentially being a grandfather. We'll see.
Uh-oh.
No, nothing solid here.
Okay.
But,
okay.
That's
any big news you want to?
No,
nothing
no
yet.
Big news,
okay.
No big news. But as you know, the kids we all know are starting to have kids. It's reflecting here. But just looking forward to helping more people. And just, you had Chad on here. I can't say his last name.
Sanchagrin.
Thank you.
There you go.
Bless you. And and I watched that podcast, and it was great. And a lot of what he talked about is what you and I study with self-development and from within.
Yeah.
And knowing, it's, the secret, right? That you watched that video, you read the book, whatever it was, and people get a vibe, right? And really, I'm just trying to get my name out there. Hey, this is who I am and this is what I do. I'd love to help you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be helped, that's okay. It's up to you. Or just the timing might not be right.
Right.
We all go through different phases in our life and different things. I like to say, you come into me, you're wearing both a belt and suspenders, just in case. I'm in the what if, just in case business. You think about that.
Sure.
What if something happens, just in case something happens?
Yep.
And some people are more cautious than others on that. I want to be insured to the hilt. I want to make sure I've got title insurance on my home. I want to make sure I have mortgage protection. I want to make sure I have life insurance. I want to make sure I have disability insurance.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I have long-term care insurance because my family has a history of living long. I want to make sure I have cancer insurance because cancer is rampant in my family. So I can help anybody. And what I'm looking forward to is just helping more people and hiring more agents that work with me that we can, again, spread the good word all over the country and say, man, I love helping people. This is actually fun.
Yeah.
It's sad. I talked about my client who passed away the other day, but I sleep well every night knowing that I'm helping as many people as I can. And sometimes you and I have a bad day and we didn't get to help that person. Hopefully it's not on me that I didn't get a chance to help them. And not that I'm looking for blame, but if it's just not the right time for them, it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to force it.
Right. That's awesome. We read a lot of books. You talked about personal development and Chad's new book, Keep Telling Yourself, is out there. We can plug that one right there.
There you go.
There you go, Chad, if you're listening. Other than Chad's book, what's a book that has been very influential in your own personal development through the years?
Wow.
And I know there's a lot.
There's a ton. I always tell my new agents when I hire them, there's 2 books I want them to read. And this is sales.
Okay.
But Go for No.
Go for No.
Go for No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go for No. And really it's, if you remember back in the day, you and I reading Cliff Notes instead of reading that book in English that I didn't want to read, that I had to read. Great Expectations, you fall asleep, you read the Cliff Notes. But, Go for No is a book that you can sit down and read in one sitting. Mm-hmm. And the basic premise is the more no's you get, you're closer to your yes.
Okay. I like that. Yep.
Was it 3 Feet from Gold, 6 Feet from Gold? I can't remember that book.
Yep.
Same kind of thing. You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing forward.
Right.
Sales, we get that. But even outside of sales, that's life, right?
Sure.
You go for no. You're going to get a lot of no's in your life.
I like that.
You go to your favorite grocery store and, man, I'm really dying for that filet that they had on sale. You get there and it's out.
Yeah.
You got that no.
Yeah.
And you're disappointed. Wah. And what are you going to do? Go for no. So that's one good book there. Another sales book, Grant Cardone, 10X.
Oh yeah, the 10X rule. I got that one.
And
don't need to write that one down.
But again, it's a style. Mm-hmm. But how are you leading your life?
Yeah.
Are you going 10X or are you just going through life?
Yep.
And it's not for me to say how you want to do that. Mm-hmm. It's for me to present it. John Maxwell, from a leadership standpoint, any John Maxwell book
absolutely
is great. And it's not just leading others, it's leading yourself. Mm-hmm. I could go on and on about some of these, but those are off the top of my head.
Awesome. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
Oh, gosh. Never pee into the wind or whittle towards yourself. You might have to edit that out.
No, that one you got
but just never give up. Social media can be deceiving, right?
Sure.
Especially something like a Facebook.
Yeah.
You think everybody's got it going on.
They don't.
And they don't.
Yeah.
But it also can be the other side of that, where you see nothing but negative.
Yeah.
And there's somebody and I've got a couple thousand friends on Facebook, but the point is there's somebody I see on there almost every day and it's negative. Mm. It does him no good.
Yep.
It does the reader no good.
Nope.
And
I block that stuff, man.
And there are people
get that away from me. Yeah.
And it's not even politics.
Right. Yeah. No,
and
definitely.
There's plenty of that too.
I can respect both sides of an opinion,
Exactly. But negative things are going to happen to us no matter what we do. Mm-hmm. You can be the Mother Teresa, and negative things happen to Mother Teresa.
Sure.
It's all in how we deal with it and react to it.
It's a story we tell ourselves.
Right. So to your question of what's the best advice, it's not what gets thrown at you, it's how you react and deal with it. And I looked at that, was it copyright or trademark this quote? Because I've gone online and I can't find it.
Okay.
And my father used to say it all the time.
Okay.
The only thing that's constant is change.
And what's your dad's name?
I'm a junior.
Oh, okay. Very good. Ken Senior.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
The only thing that's constant is change.
Okay.
Best word advice I ever got. And you know what? Until I became old, it's all relative.
Yeah.
I fought that.
Yeah.
Because I strove to work hard and be steady and fight against change.
Yeah.
Everybody fights against change. It's
people
that
don't like it.
Inner voice.
Yeah.
Right. Because you listen to your inner voice, and your inner voice has to be positive over what comes around you.
Yeah.
And your inner voice has to be able to deal with that change. So your outer body and your outer voice can adapt to that.
I think another good quote is life happens for us, not to us. And if you come with that frame of mind, the change that comes into your life is working there for you. And
Correct.
You might not know why right now, but you will. You'll be able to connect the dots when you look back.
Yeah,
so,
time.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, this has been a great interview.
Oh, come on now. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely a lot of thoughts that I need to work through, and I think there's a lot of things that there's a lot of nuggets in this interview that people need to, really take into consideration and take action on those. If people have more questions, they want to reach out to you, where can people connect?
I appreciate that. My cell phone, which is my only phone, my business and personal, 443-528-5290.
Okay.
The Barnes Agency, Barnes, all social media. Well, I shouldn't say all because I'm not on some of them, but Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can reach me through any of them. And my webpage, barnesfamilyagency.com.
Awesome.
So, yeah, be more than willing to answer any questions for anybody. As part of everything we talked about, retirement planning is in part of that also.
Okay.
So pretty much I have a solution for just about anybody. And if I can't do it myself, either my licensing or my skill set, I have plenty of people that I can refer to, people like yourself.
Yeah.
So it's just a great feeling to be able to help people.
Yeah.
And being self-employed, I can do it on my terms that help my clients and not for the greater good of a corporation or a bank that's looking for that. I'm an independent broker and I'm not married to anybody on that side. My job is, like I said, to get them approved for something within their budget. So it's a great place to be.
That's awesome, man. You know where to follow Ken. If you haven't followed us yet, I don't know what your problem is. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Markland Advantage. And we're on all those other side platforms like TikTok and Snapchat and stuff like that too. But you can follow us basically there. If this has brought value to you, please share this out. These are the kind of conversations that we need to have more of and not steer away from. It's so important. So important for yourself, so important for the people that are in your lives. So, Ken, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us today. And until next time, live your life to the fullest. And we'll see you soon. Take care. So did you like this episode of the TMA Connection? Well, you might want to check this one out right here. Go ahead. Click it.